KCAA.
No matter what it is in life that you want, you gotta go out there and get it. Just don't let it come to a sleeper but a dream. Never give up on your goals, stay focused on you.
What's up, team? This is Robert Porter with the I Love San Bernardino County radio show on KCA NBC 106.5 FM, 1050 AM, where we will talk politics, culture, and history. We have my great co-host, Ipiani Lockhart, in the house. Hey. Yes, attorney Tim Prince in the house, local from San Bernardino High School.
Good evening.
Cardinal Pride.
Boo! Pacific rules.
Cardinal Pride.
Oh, and Tanya Hensley, talk of the town, and Cardinal Pride too.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Cajon will take you all day.
Cowgirls!
All day, every day.
There you go.
But I actually worked at both.
Okay.
So, you know, I can give a little love. I worked at just about every high school in the city at one point or another, done staff development there. So,
Well, a cardinal
so
and
we'll go there.
And a cowgirl cannot mess with a pirate. Like,
Oh.
you got a sword, all right?
And a boat, too.
Yeah, and a hook, and we're missing an eye. What kind of battles have you been through?
I like beef, so.
So today's going to be the election show. We're going to go over what's going on in San Bernardino and the county and state a little bit. But before we get into that, I'd like to mention our sponsor, Celebrities Bar and Grill over on 40th Street. Max, Zaire, and Zoe have been sponsoring us for about 2 years now and just really keeping us going. We appreciate you.
Yes, indeed.
Max has the $9.99 steak special.
Hey, now.
Yes, and you should go and visit again. I remember you had a little fun, but, you know, Max isn't there as much. He's doing a lot of work over there at the Juice It Up. But he is there occasionally, here or there. But it's good to support local businesses because that sales tax revenue goes to pay for those potholes that are being created, not by us, but by the rain, right? The water rolling over it, right? Mm-hmm. So we got to spend money here locally, in the area. Even in Redlands. If you live in Redlands, you should spend money here. I just don't think San Bernardinans should travel to Redlands all the time to spend their money, right? They should stay home if they can and spend it there. And then if they want to go visit downtown Redlands, please do. Yeah, that's our local economy in the county-wide, right?
And a great place to spend some money at is Chubby Smash Burger, because I see that grand opening is March 7th, the grand opening. So
this Thursday at
indeed.
3 p.m., Chubsy Smash Burger, you know, Victor and Jose and Pat and the whole team over there have been working hard from the grassroots.
Yes, indeed.
Right. Their jobs were taken away from them when that Amazon warehouse burned down here in Redlands. Yeah. So, you know, the Oxbow thing? Yeah, that thing, right? Mm-hmm. So then they had no job. So they had, what do we do? They started Chubsy Smash Burger, going around just doing it straight vending style. Built their way up.
Yes, indeed.
And now they have a brick and mortar.
Hey now.
Right?
Good, congratulations.
Wow. I mean, that is a success story. I mean, if the McDonald's brothers could do it here, why can't a Chubsy Smash Burger do it here? So
definitely.
Please go there for their grand opening.
Yes, indeed.
It should be fun. I imagine there will be some city people there.
They were promoting it on the city website.
Yeah, so I imagine maybe the mayor will show up. I don't know for sure. But that would be nice if we saw some.
Get your smash patty on.
Yeah, eat one of those. I like putting jalapenos on mine.
Me too.
Yeah,
I love jalapenos on burgers.
Yes, grilled jalapenos and onions.
Yeah.
Oh, the grilled onions are good. So we love you, Chubsies, and we will be there on Thursday at 3 o'clock for you. Thank you. Our other sponsor, Green Shack Marketplace, really good people. Manel and what was that?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Manel is incredible. I just seen her the other day. She said our birthday, so I wanted to wish her a happy birthday and thank her,
nice.
for helping us all out and everybody she helps out. She does.
She has a huge heart.
Yeah, you'd imagine when you have a restaurant place and you have 6-foot sandwiches, what happens all the time? right? People be asking for
I need
6-foot
a sandwich.
sandwiches. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And she is always there for me and our other people, so I want to, give her a high five for that.
Definitely, and great sandwiches as well.
Incredible,
Can't go
man.
wrong
Best
with the
sandwiches in town.
Yeah,
Hey now,
good,
hey now.
good stuff. Oh, we got
That's
a
what
good
the attorney said.
Yeah. I like to bring up the San Bernardino standout of the week is a very special person, but this lady is so special that I have to have my co-host mention her.
Well, definitely, Robert. I just want to say thank you for that because it warmed my heart. The standout of the week is Sonia Lockard and my father, Eddie Lockard. We want to wish them well on what would be their 46th anniversary. Sadly, my father transitioned 2 years ago.
May
but
rest
we
in
still,
peace.
thank you, sir. But we still celebrate and honor that union because without the love that they cultivated, my brother and I wouldn't exist. And we know that we were truly blessed to be raised in a household filled of unconditional love, The creativity that I have was cultivated by my mother, the entrepreneurial spirit and dedication to the community and being a standout individual and a person of integrity. That was all modeled by my wonderful father. So just want to say, happy anniversaries to my mom and love you and miss you as well, Dad, because we're still, it takes time, bro. It takes time.
And we thank them both of, let's dedicate this show to
you,
your parents' anniversary, all right?
Thank you, brother.
Nice.
And to any love out there, any long-lasting love for anybody, however you define love, whatever love's for you, we want to celebrate your union and your commitment to your partner because it's a beautiful thing to find love in this world. Not everyone has that experience here.
And I was just explaining, like, I saw this study, and we're going to be talking about the elections in a second, but how loneliness itself
Yes.
affects the elections on the extremes of both sides, right? So, like, the extreme males on both sides tend to be
Very lonely.
single.
I believe it.
Interesting stuff, like these psychologists are getting into. So
That might not be a bad.
yeah. But we'll have to see what happens.
Because
We'll
a
have to
good
check
woman
out.
keeps you in line. That's
Yeah.
why.
Right.
So, the San Bernardino Standout of the Week is brought to you by Ben Chavez with First Lineage Site Services. Thank you, dude. Over a year of helping us do Standout of the Week. I've said so many names of good people in our neighborhoods, our community, and our county,
Amen.
and like that normally just don't get any recognition.
True.
So thank
Unsung
you, Ben.
hero.
That's awesome, right? I mean,
Word
just to
up.
get your name mentioned because you did something good. You've been Standout of the Week before.
I have.
You have as well.
Yes.
At 1 year,
Yes.
right?
Hey, and you're always the standout of the week, even
Right.
though you don't pat yourself on the back.
I never
We're
got a
patting you on
standout of the
back.
week here.
It's right today. Today is the day.
Today is your day.
Where the idea came from was getting Citizen of the Month. So I mean, that made me feel real happy too.
Beautiful.
I mean,
Yeah.
I've worked hard for San Bernardino, and getting that last year was like,
Beautiful.
yeah, it actually made me
That's
take a
beautiful.
little break. Actually, maybe take a break.
There you go. Brought a
Like
tear to your
I
eye.
pulled back a little bit, because that's so stressful sometimes. So sometimes you gotta paint a house or something. In
Yeah,
between,
yeah, what you've been doing over the last few months.
Yeah, really, figure out in your mind what you're doing, right? Like, figure it out. Like, don't just jump into anything. Like, decide, right? And I'm just taking my time because I can right now. So
There you
I'm
go.
gonna figure it out, but I'm gonna enjoy painting this house while I can.
There
right?
you go. There you go.
And then I'll keep looking at my mama's too. I'm like, that needs to
Uh-oh.
be scraped. Go over
There
there.
you go.
All right. Well, it is Women's
History
Month,
Month. Yeah.
History Month. Yes. So I would like to read a little bit about a famous woman from here in the city of San Bernardino,
Awesome.
Eliza Robbins Crafts. While many of the Mormon settlers were leaving San Bernardino for Salt Lake in late 1857 with strict orders from the church president Brigham Young to sell their property for whatever they could get. A rowdy, roughneck crowd lusted over unbelievable cheap real estate deals. So when this happened, this is what led to the first red light type district of San Bernardino, because there was such cheap property, right?
hear you.
Right, because
The brothels.
Yeah, some of it was practically given away
Okay.
because they had to leave, right? Fortunately, the young community wasn't in complete shambles thanks to some industrious newcomers who were also filtered in. Of this new group of leaders was a woman who not only helped keep the peace in San Bernardino, but whose career as a teacher and a writer had an endearing impact on the early history of the valley. Her name was Eliza P. Robbins Craft. Born in 1825, November 29th, in New York, Eliza Craft was far more educated than most of the women of her day. A graduate of Madame Willard's Female Seminary, she served in the similar institution in the Virginia Seminary as vice president in 1848. Now, this is a long time
That's
ago.
amazing, too, for the times.
By 18, because a woman, even having an education, then you would have had to go through a seminary.
Or a leadership role in churches, you know what I mean? Like, for real.
True.
Definitely.
By 1854, she was working as a teacher in Louisiana while also marrying fellow New York native Professor Ellison Robbins. After a short visit to their home state, the newlyweds went to Santa Clara, California, where they were both taught in schools for the next 3 years. Then in 1858, Dr. Ben Barton persuaded the Robbins to take charge of the school system in San Bernardino.
Hey, now.
Right. Classes were taught in the only 2 schools in town, adjoining one-room adobe houses on the south side of 4th Street between C, now Arrowhead Avenue, and D, the south side of 4th Street between C, now Arrowhead Avenue, and D. They were known as the Washington and Jefferson buildings. While her husband taught the intermediate grades and eventually became superintendent of schools, Eliza taught the primary department. The devoutly religious duo also started their town's first non-denominational Sunday school, while Ellison led the singing. Eliza played the melodion. Melodon? I don't even know what that is.
Melodon, yeah.
Well, so the first,
Awesome.
Yeah, cool history. San
Yes,
Bernardino
indeed.
has plenty of it. 1848. Oh, yes, that is old. Not quite as old as the East Coast, but still, we have plenty of history, cool
Yes,
stuff.
indeed.
And if you want to find out more, Creating the Gate City, San Bernardino, California, by Nicholas Cataldo.
Awesome.
Have a read, and if you're really lucky, you'll get it signed by
Ah.
Guy. Right? You have a signed
Yeah.
copy of this, Mr. Prince?
No, I don't.
Little jealous.
All right, all
Little
right.
jealous.
There you go. Only for the
Envious.
cool kids.
Yes, if
Right.
you do want one of these copies, just go to the Historical Society meeting this Thursday at 7 o'clock. So it's on DNA Street. Go check it out if you wish. I'm not sure they're doing the day. I haven't been in a while, but they're always the first Thursday of every month.
By the way, Nick Cataldo graduated from Cajon.
Did he? Awesome. Now we do have a couple events coming up here. We have the March 23rd extravaganza, eggs extravaganza, right?
Easter.
So the Easter event, and that will be at Fiscalini Field. So you want to have a good time with your kids, head on over there for Easter. And I mean, I seen pictures from the last one. I did not go, but I heard it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of eggs.
I believe you.
So
Any updates on the event that was supposed to take place last Saturday? You know, the art fest,
oh
but
yeah,
it
I
got
guess
postponed.
it just rained it out. Yeah, I'm not
They're
sure.
not going to move it to this upcoming week.
I did not get.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
We'll find out.
Yeah,
We'll
I
find
didn't
out
see
for
that
you.
in Parks and Rec yet, but I'm not sure about that. There is a whole list of stuff, and we'll start going through things like, there's Arbor Day and April 13th, but we'll go along as we go. But there's other events that's been happening. Anything you'd like to add?
Definitely. I know that there's a monolith event at the Creative Ground Studios. It was postponed as well from last weekend, but it was moved to this upcoming Saturday. So you can reach out to Creative Grounds or Monolith on Instagram to find out more about that art event.
Okay. And other events that are going on in the city, we have a city meeting. Is it special meeting? I think it's
Both.
yeah.
Special and regular.
This Wednesday.
They've been doing a lot of special meetings.
they have
and
to
throwing
do-
them in there
yeah.
early.
So they can start at 5, right?
Yeah.
But they did change. Didn't they change the time? I thought they changed it last meeting. I don't know.
Not too sure. But I know tomorrow at San Bernardino Valley College, there's the community excellence gathering that's happening there. It might be a little too late to register, but not everybody that registers shows up. So if you're interested, it's in the Business Building 100 from 9 to 11 a.m. Go Wolverines.
And we do have something incredible happening tomorrow as well. The election.
Yes.
Yeah! Isn't that why we came? Isn't that the whole reason we're here today?
Man, like these things have snuck up on me. Like it went really quick to this primary. Wow, we did a lot of interviews. We didn't get to everybody. We did miss. I did see that we missed Mr. Nickel there, and we missed Mr. Kelly. But you know, we did get to a lot of people. We missed Mario. I'm sorry, Mario. He couldn't make it the day we invited him, and then Bassine. Unfortunately, couldn't make it the first day, and then got ill the next time. Mm-hmm. So I tried to get everybody in. We will, if you want to get in the next round, you know, and you make it, you know, we'll have to bring you in.
Yes,
if you want to come in and complain about why you didn't make it, well, we can do that too. Okay. You know, welcome to come in. This is a big election, team.
Yes, indeed.
We have 4 council seats available. At how many supervisor seats for our area? Is it 2?
I know
2.
we have Baca and Rowe.
And
for sure.
Baca and Rowe, yeah. And Dawn is the mountains in the low desert in a tiny sliver of San Bernardino and Highland area right there. Mm-hmm. And then Mr. Baca is the rest of San Bernardino, right?
And Rialto.
And Rialto. And Bloomington.
Bloomington, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Colton.
This
Yes.
is big election, right?
Yes.
No one's running against Mr. Baca. Yeah, so Mr. Baca, he's a shoo-in, right? But does he automatically go to the general election? Do you know? Is that how that works?
No, that'll be done.
Even if it is 50%?
Right.
Right. Okay. So like I guess you automatically get 50%.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
But like I thought there was something weird in the assembly that it didn't matter if you won the primary or not. You had to go to the general election.
That is true
Yeah.
for state offices.
Okay. All right. So though Mr. Ramos is running against himself in the 45th Assembly District, he will still be on the general election ballot coming up here.
There's actually a write-in candidate in that race
Okay.
by the name of Scott Olson.
So Scott Olson will possibly be. Oh yeah, like I just talked to Scott. He works over here in the store over here a block away. So whenever I visit him, I think that's cool that Scott's running. You know, he got to run in, and like he will possibly be on the ballot as well, right?
Well, he'll be the second vote getter, so he'll proceed to the November election.
So if you didn't sign the paperwork, team, to be a write-in candidate, you don't win if you just write in.
Right.
Right. But it's still fun to do, like, you know, Bart Simpson.
Mickey Mouse will never win.
Yeah.
I remember when Roxanne
Yeah,
said
yeah.
that.
Unless he
Mickey
registers.
gets a lot of votes for president.
And
Unless
so
he
does-
registers, right?
So does Steve.
Because it's possible. No, it is totally possible for Mickey Mouse to be a human name.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a candidate, right? But like, yeah, they have to register. That's the key, right?
Yes.
So Scott has a chance to be on the ballot, and I think that's cool. It'll be nice to see someone. But I already told Scott I love him to death. But Mr. Ramos is my man.
It's like I can't vote
Yeah,
for you,
and
though, bro.
I'm gonna vote for Mr. Ramos, right? I love Mr. Ramos, but I don't mind getting Scott on the ballot.
There you go.
I don't mind getting Scott on the ballot.
I encourage people, if they have a desire to run, throw your name in the hat. You know, a lot of times your first go around, you're not more than likely not going to win, but it's a wonderful learning experience. So you learn the rigors of how to run a campaign, how to manage a campaign, organize, fundraise. Those are skill sets that if you really do desire to run or have a position in your future, you're going to have to learn how to do those things. So might as well throw your name in the hat and get that learning process started.
And how do you feel about his technique, Mr. Prince? Can you see it?
Whose technique?
Olson's.
I don't know really anything about his campaign, but he did tell me he's running.
Yeah. So the main thing is the technique is to get on the get name recognition, right? Mm-hmm. So just by getting your name in the hat, you're going to get on the main primary ballot, and if you're a conservative and everybody sees you, that gives you a name recognition.
Definitely.
Right.
Get it out there.
So for Scott, who loves the Tea Party and all that stuff, right? It's good for him in his world, and I think that's awesome.
And we had a lot of great conversations with Scott.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So it was a good time.
I know what I find is like you think someone just because they named Republican or Democrat, but that doesn't mean they're like a certain way all the time,
Yeah.
right? You know, we're all humans and
At
we're
the end of the
different,
day.
right?
Well, on community issues, the parties don't really line up. You can agree with somebody no matter what part of the spectrum they're on. It's our community, and people
True.
care about their community.
That's why they often say nonpartisan. Do you believe it, Tanya?
You know, it's funny that you bring this up because I was actually thinking about the whole concept, and when I decided what party I was with, right? I was 18 years old and registering to vote the very first
I
time,
hear you.
and what my dad was is what I was,
I hear
right?
Oh.
And so it's the concept. At 19, I moved in with my best friend and her parents, and the absolute only thing I had to do to continue living there was on voting day, I had to walk in with that.
I hear you. Just participate.
I had to vote. They didn't care how I voted, I had to vote. And so I look at that, and it's funny because I do a lot of community stuff, right? And if you look at a lot of what I do and I participate in, that aligns with one party. If you look at some of my other views and my schooling and my background, that aligns with another party. So it kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier in that whole, I'm kind of purple.
Yeah, yeah.
Right?
It's a hodgepodge.
You know?
It's a mix
Because-
of both.
Exactly. I believe some things that are here for sure, right?
Totally.
And I believe some things that are here for sure. And so it's that, for me, how do we move our community forward?
Definitely.
And this is my world. So that's how I look at things.
It's that community aspect too. I mean, like, I'm hoping eventually it will bubble over. Like, 'cause the community doesn't stop at any borders. We are a United States community, right?
Right.
I mean, there are things we can do together and that we need. We need things like a way to help the homeless situation.
Definitely.
There's things that we can't agree on. We don't always agree on how to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
But maybe we need to work hard on finding those things, that whatever they are, because like for the unhoused, we're failing. Yeah.
And especially with the Proposition 1 being one of the major, propositions that the only one that's on there currently right now. So it's a issue that we're going to be facing together as a state, and we need to face as a nation as well.
Kind of what I was getting to, right? So how do you feel about Proposition 1? Should we read it exactly what it says?
Yeah, well, basically, it's going to take some money away from the county mental health and use it to pay the interest on bonds for the state. And then the state is going to build mental health facilities, which directly affect the homeless situation in the various counties. So I think from that standpoint, obviously they're touting that there's no new taxes because we're diverting some money to pay the interest, and we're leveraging that money to have billions of dollars of new mental health facilities to try to fill some of the hole that was left when we closed all those institutions when Ronald Reagan was governor. And so I support it. I don't think it's probably something I would have come up with myself. It's kind of a interesting twist, but I think it's going to help.
I did do a little study on the Ronald Reagan thing, though. He didn't let people, because I used to say that. I used to say, over in Desert Hot Springs, he just let all the crazies out, and that's why Desert Hot Springs is the way it is, right? Very rural, crazy. A lot of. Now they're never going to listen to the show. No, that's what we used to say when I did archaeology out there. But then I realized, wait a second, these are just normal people like everybody else. And I started researching more into it, and it was just an overall state thing that was done under him as governor, right? But this legislature still had to pass all that stuff, right? So it wasn't directly him. So I don't, I don't like giving Reagan all the positive or negative. Sometimes you got to call it for what it is, right?
Because almost all our presidents have done some things that were good and did some things that were bad.
But those state decisions led to what is happening today, right?
Right.
And now, how do we solve them? Like, we want to be compassionate, but then compassion hasn't really gotten us much. So now they're looking at more hardcore, right? So it doesn't. And then the other thing is, it doesn't really matter what we do. the Supreme Court is going to make some big decisions coming up here on how we are going to deal with the homeless situation and what we're allowed to do. Do you think they're going to be empathetic or
forced treatment?
Yeah, like I don't know what the answer should be.
So here's my one of my major issues with all of that. If you look at our homeless population as a city, and you guys can correct me if my numbers are a little off, but we're somewhere around 1,000 to 1,500 that are documented in the GIS mapping program that they use, ArcGIS. Okay, somewhere, and I'll use a broad range. How many people do we have in our city?
200,000.
Yeah.
200,000, 225,000. We can agree on that number somewhere. We're looking at less than 1% of our city that affects everyone else in the city. And when you go to community meetings, you sit down at the table and you have those conversations, right? I can't go to the store after dark. On 40th, where I used to walk home from Del Taco at midnight when I got off at 15, 16 years old, right? Okay, when you start looking at, I wouldn't dare send my girls down there when they were in high school to go to the store during the day. And you look at those concepts. I drove by Paris Hill today. Okay, we all love Paris Hill Park. It's a beautiful park. Okay, we just went through helping write letters to get the grant to redo so they can do the bowl and all of those things. Okay, putting money into it. They literally have a caged area with tents inside it where unhoused are living with their dogs, their laundry on the fence, like all of these things where it used to be a shining part of our city and now it's become an unhoused campground.
Because we haven't provided any place for them to shelter.
And it's that concept that you can't take your kids to the park anymore. You can't, like, all those things I want to do as a person in our city, paying taxes. I want to do those things.
I just heard someone say that they wouldn't even buy gas in San Bernardino. And that's bad for us, right? I mean, like, they're traveling out of our city.
Yeah, we're losing money.
And they were born here.
I hear you.
This kind of stuff is getting to me, and being a cheerleader for San Bernardino, like, I will never stop, and I will keep it going.
Amen.
But I'm not dumb. Like I posted a post about I Love San Bernardino. If you guys seen it, I got people on there hating on me, like all these comments of hate. Like, what is wrong with? Why? Why is it like that? If we work together, we can, alleviate some of this, right?
It makes me think of like the African proverb, right? If you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go further, you go together. And we have to, especially in this election time, we have to be sowing seeds of unity and camaraderie and coming together to address the issues within our community that will be beneficial to our entire community, to all of us, because we're all affected by these things, So that's why I'm big on, kind of like how you said earlier, we know that we have low turnout throughout our community. Like, I don't care who you vote for. I just want you to participate. Kind of very similar with the family you moved in at a young age with the friend, how the only requirement was to participate.
Right.
And that's what I want. I'm just going to throw this out there, and I've shared this with people. Some people hate it, but when you look at Australia, right, they have like over 90% turnout for like all their votes. But see, they have a punitive measure. If you don't vote, you get fined,
Yes,
And,
you're right.
and I know certain parties wouldn't like that, because the more people vote, the less likelihood certain groups will to get their seats or hold on to their power. But I feel like to us as a nation, as quote unquote one of these First Nations and a beacon of freedom throughout the world, right? That when we have turnouts that maybe get to 50% as a nation, that's truly pathetic, and we have to do better, And maybe the punitive approach is not the solution. I like that solution,
it's an interesting approach.
Yeah,
it is.
but it works in some of the other countries, and they have 90% turnout, and to me, it's so important for us to turn out because we live in this country.
What about flipping it on its head, make it a carrot approach, and say, hey, if you do vote, you get money off your taxes.
However, incentivize
I would be for that all day, every day.
Incentivize it.
And you might Republican. Less taxes?
I hear you.
Right?
I hear you.
Right?
Might get him with the. That's the.
Yeah. All right, so we're not telling you how to vote on the Prop 1. Do some research on it. It's very confusing to me. I think there's stuff hidden in there that we don't fully understand all the way.
Oh, they do that on purpose. Come on.
And
This big book, single spaced, is mostly Prop 1. Just the text of it.
Just
It goes on and on. I mean, even for a lawyer, this is a
Yeah.
lot of reading.
Even for a lawyer.
So we're gonna let the California Supreme Court sort it out. Yeah,
Right.
we'll throw them the bone, but it might pass. I mean, it's like I would make a bet that it will pass because people want a solution, and if that's the only thing on there, they're gonna vote for it.
And I think everybody agrees that a large percentage of the homeless population has some mental health issues.
or addiction, which is totally associated with mental health because it leads to that.
And that's come up over and over again. It comes up constantly. Also, one of the other things that comes up often is when they approach the homeless, it takes several approaches of building a relationship and trust before they will accept any type of help.
I know when Damon Alexander was here, he said it takes between 17 and 42 touches to build that trust.
Wow, that's hardcore.
Right. So
That's a lot of resources.
and when PD goes out or someone goes out and they perceive it as anything but what they want, it becomes an issue because you're talking about 17 to 42, right? And so it's that concept of they can't necessarily just do something about it right away with getting them help.
Definitely.
All right, so you mind if we move on from that one?
No, yeah.
All right.
By all means.
So now we had the fire chief on for Measure W. Kind of, they're holding us under the gun. Basically, say if we do not pay this, we lose some fire stations and services. If we do pay it, it will continue to pay that yearly fee of $170 or $180.
It's $171.85.
And it can go up $4 or something a year in perpetuity.
We had a forum on Measure W at the Democratic Luncheon Club last Friday, and I kind of took them to task on that statement because this is the county fire, and the Board of Supervisors could fill the hole that the special parcel tax would.
With that $1 billion budget, they just don't want to.
Exactly. And has anybody heard that the county is short on money or that they're having problems funding what they need? What I hear is that they have enough money to build high rises downtown. The Taj Mahal is not good enough for the politicians anymore. They have to have another high rise in downtown San Bernardino.
Well,
They've got plenty
I'll
of money.
take another high rise. I don't mind.
Well, if we had the money, that would be great.
Yeah.
But I don't think
because it is our money they're using.
a family in a poor neighborhood in San Bernardino with one bedroom or a studio situation is paying the same tax as fancy mansions on the hill. Large businesses are paying the same as small businesses. It's a very imperfect tax, and it's gone up a lot from 108 when it was first voted on by a little tiny community in the foothills. And now it's 178 or something like that. It goes up 3% a year.
Do you mind if I address that a little bit?
Sure.
So the community that first voted on that is out in Hellendale. And I've talked quite extensively with the chief on it. And I know Hellendale. I used to own a property out there. That community does not have a lot of commercial. There is not any industrial out there. It's houses.
And they feel like they shouldn't have to pay.
So it was equal for equal in the way that it was written. So here in San Bernardino and everywhere else that it covers, that is how it extended, right? So I understand what you're saying, and I'll kind of say it this way and what I came to the conclusion of, because we own our house, we own a rental, okay? If I get that 171 whatever back, 85 back, I'm not going to take that off my renter's rent for the year, right? And you're talking about $13, $15 a month. I haven't done the math, but I can do that much math. And so when you look at it realistically, with the services that would be cut with it, okay, and it's the concept that all of the money raised in San Bernardino from San Bernardino stays in San Bernardino. So we're not paying for another part of the county and that money going to them. And so when I drove around and looked at it with the chief extensively, the disrepair we were in, the things that weren't being kept up, that the money wasn't there to keep up with the fire department. As he talked about the apparatus, and you guys got a clear picture on that. And then what they're turning around and doing now with the funding to continue building up our city and the department and the things that need to happen, it's phenomenal. So for me, I understand how you can look at it and be like, that big, huge building only pays this, and we have to pay the same. Understanding where it came from gave me a little bit more resiliency to say, okay, realistically, I would rather see us keep the services and the money here than have to worry about my renters, which...
So I have a question for you. Being more conservative, would you ever vote to increase your taxes?
So I already have.
Yeah.
And when Damon talked about that the other day.
That's what I'm thinking is going in, like, that's what's going to happen out there in the world, that Republicans are going to see this as a tax, and they're not going to want to vote for that.
But I see, it's not a tax they're getting, and I think that we clarified that last time. It's something that's already
in the ballot,
place.
it says tax. It
Right.
says that word, so that's what
Right.
they're going to go by. Yeah.
And so right now, it's already in place. People are already paying it, right?
I hear you.
And so it's not like they're putting another tax on. You know, Damon talked about bringing in a tax to do the pavement for the potholes, right? And he said, and it was a bond measure. And he said, would you support it, right? To me, a bond is a tax, right? A school bond is a tax, like all of it. And yes, I voted for school bonds. Why? I worked in education. Yep. If it meant my job, I'll pay an extra $150 a year.
Oh, so you're saying that could possibly happen with fire as well?
It will happen with fire.
Okay.
It will close at least a minimum of 4 stations. It will, the 4 people that they're getting ready to hire for our area will not be hired. I can tell you that will happen. And so
How can you predict the future, though? The Board of Supervisors can fill that hole.
they can, that doesn't mean they will.
Right.
And that's where there's something in place right now that's keeping those things going and that movement going.
But politicians want to please the people. They want to get reelected. And I think most of them are well-intentioned and want to do the right thing. The right thing is to have the minimum level of safe fire service for the city of San Bernardino. I can't imagine how any of the Board of Supervisors, unless there's something wrong in their head, would not vote to fill this gap. And I committed to the deputy fire chief that I would be part of the movement to put pressure on the Board of Supervisors to do just that.
If it did happen. But this is the thing. I think the voters are uninformed enough with this to not really know either way what they're voting. Like, it's so confusing.
It's confusing. And that's the thing we talked about last time.
I have a feeling that it's going to pass, and the judges are going to throw it out after it, like happened last time with the other measures, right? Like, was it K or whatever? Like,
But this is already kind of the do-over.
Yeah.
So
Oh, this is a do-over?
I don't think it will, because we already repealed this tax. We voted to repeal this tax
So you
by
don't-
57%.
so you don't think they'll do it again?
And it's back again for a do-over.
Whew, crazy. All right, well,
Make sure you vote tomorrow.
I get to say what I want, right?
Yeah.
So my thing is no, and you guys just heard why.
Okay. Well, to me,
And ultimately, we definitely want you to do your own homework and enlighten yourself on the proposition so you could come to your decision for yourself.
And if you guys want to know, I'll say how I voted and why. I voted no on it, and the reason why is because I was part of a movement that tried to repeal it in the first place, and it was set up, and I told them this, it was set up so you could not repeal it. It was impossible to get those numbers, right? So, like, it's set up that we are going to have fire no matter what. It's going to be here. They're going to be there. They're going to find a way to make it work. And so I'm just letting them do it with the money they already got and save us time. Because it will cost more money to repeal all this stuff and change everything, right?
Yeah.
In the long run, they're just wasting our money. This is all our money. Everything here is our money.
And people, my thing is this, the people, and we're a large rental community, the people are going to suffer with longer response times, things like
But
that.
if you're against
They're
taxes,
already suffering.
and you're ready to go for
They're
that,
already suffering.
like, vote your conscience, whatever you feel. But you know what? Do some research, study this
Yes,
stuff, and
empower
maybe watch
yourself.
that episode with the chief. It's pinned
Yes.
up in I Love San Bernardino Raw Report.
Great
on that,
episode.
and the announcements. All right,
Talk of
we
the
got,
Town has several things with the chief you guys can look up.
Talk of the Town's really been doing a lot of politics this year. Good stuff. All right, so we have, let's go to the 3rd Ward of San Bernardino.
Okay.
We have Juan Figueroa, the current councilman, against Christian T. Shaughnessy. Shaughnessy is a brother of ours in the Native Sons of the Golden West. Me and
And that's a race that's going to be decided March 5th. It's not going to go to November because there's only 2 candidates.
Oh,
So that's going
as long as it gets the,
50 plus
51?
one.
It doesn't even have to. It will, but it doesn't have to. Because there's 2 candidates and it's a city race, it's going to be decided. Now, the person that wins, if it's not Juan, will not take office until December.
Okay.
So there'll
So
be
this happened in the 6th Ward last election, and Kimberly Calvin actually ended up through a few votes won, right? And how did that work? What was I saying? Well, anyways, I had a brain fart. You know how that goes. You're allowed to say brain fart on the radio.
He'll be bleeping it
it's
out.
brain flatulence.
Right.
Brain turds.
But basically, she won with over 50% of the vote with a few votes and didn't have to, was in there, but
won it.
acting like a council person, but not actually in there yet.
Definitely.
So it's totally possible for that to happen. Christian's a good guy. Juan's a good guy, in my opinion. Both of them have good abilities. They're both good organizers. I think Christian's a better organizer, personally. But I've seen Juan do things in the community that make me think he's more in the center. So, Christian, I kind of feel like you got a little bit on one side and that's it. So, I'm not that kind of guy, but you are.
I don't always agree with the Sun editorial board, but on this one I do. Juan is hopelessly tied to former Mayor John Valdivia, who was corrupt beyond any memory I have.
Have you talked to Juan about? I've talked to him about it.
You know what? Politicians talk, and Juan's a nice guy, and I've had nice conversations with Juan. So I already know what he was going to say, and yes, I have talked to him. The problem is the funding. The sponsorship of his initial candidacy, it was all John Valdivia. So you can't just forget that and say, well, I'm my own man now. He's joined at the hip with John Valdivia, and John Valdivia wants to retain influence in San Bernardino, and that's his way to do it, is to get his buddy Juan back in there.
Yeah. Juan doesn't agree with everything that.
Once again, you've heard the 2 candidates that are on the ballot. Make sure that you do your homework to be well informed
and by the way,
before you cast your vote tomorrow.
me and Tim Prince cannot vote in that election, right? Yeah.
Well, and I'm going to say, a lot of times just because people are together on one concept doesn't mean they're always together in thought. And so it goes back to what we said. And before we were on the air, we talked about the fact that we have to start coming to the table and we have to start bringing people to the table to move forward. And if we don't start doing that, then we keep this, blue over there, red over there, and we don't look at how do we move our city forward, then we're not going to get anything done. We're going to get a lot of fighting done.
And we're all going to suffer when
Yeah.
we don't have to.
But we can't ignore the past, and we can't forget the mistakes of the past. And I really don't know very many people that wouldn't agree that John Valdivia was the very lowest, worst mayor. We accomplished nothing. He was self-interested, and that's just not good for a
And
political alliance.
He's not gone, but he's still. Valdivia has to please his Chinese developers or whoever his, people that consult with him. But that doesn't mean he's going to get anything in the city.
Well,
And I always tell candidates, take money. If people are giving you money, you take it. Unless it's given to you illegally, take that money. You should represent everybody.
And then
right?
the old domino adage comes to mind: all money ain't good money, though.
Yeah. And if it is bad money, that's fine. But in elections, the Supreme Court decided the other team's taking advantage of that. If we don't start doing that ourselves, we will be at a disadvantage. Right? You have to do that kind of stuff, right?
I generally agree with you, but in the 7th Ward, it's kind of interesting that one of the candidates has made a, I won't say career, but certainly made it her practice to call out corruption in others and call out when somebody has received money from a certain developer or is aligned with somebody and calls it corruption. And now, during the campaign, I found out in the middle of the campaign or towards the end of the campaign that she's doing the same thing that she railed against for so long. So that's kind of interesting. When you make it your platform to call that out, you should maybe follow the same rules.
Practice what you preach. It sounds like it.
Then again, you got to take the money. Those signs don't get made. That you got to have 3,000 or whatever to get your stuff in the ballot. All these things. If you don't have good money hanging in your savings account, you got to collect it. The other thing is, I want you all to know, just because you get money doesn't mean you have to vote that way for that person. It seems that way, and it probably is a lot of the times, but it doesn't have to be that way. And if you can be the candidate that makes it a point to be, I'll take your money, but I ain't going to vote for what you're doing, so be it. I hope that's a good candidate, and they're doing good things.
I hear you.
Right. So,
And that money comes from David Weiner, who has built a lot of the warehouses in Fontana. He's from Beverly Hills, but he's built plenty of warehouses out here. So when you call out warehouses and then you take money from a warehouse developer, and then there's, of course, Scott Beard, who's always been her biggest sponsor. And this mailer that was sent out with, this is offensive to me from a racial point of view, to have him look like some kind of comical character. The incumbent in the 7th Ward is Damon Alexander, and he's African American. And so they apparently think that he carried a gun when he talked to staff in City Hall. So they're availing themselves of the stereotypical black man with an anger problem and his gun. And that's the whole theme of this mailer funded by Scott Beard, the developer. I just think it's horrible. There's just a lot of bad stuff going on in that race.
He's a retired federal agent.
Yeah, entitled to carry a weapon.
Yeah.
And if you've met Damon Alexander, one thing you can't say is that he's threatening or a bully. He's the nicest guy you ever meet. He's calm, mild-mannered.
And their foundation does so much wonderful work. I enjoyed participating in the turkey trot last year, on Thanksgiving. And I know they've done that for a number of years. And great leaders. But once again, you know who the candidates are running in the 7th Ward. Make sure you inform yourself and vote what you believe in.
And we can't forget Mr. Penman.
I was going to say, are you guys saying that the top two are going to be those two?
No, I'm not saying
No,
anything.
this race to me
he's
is
addressing
very
the
close.
third. It's all good.
3 candidates that are all well known, good last name recognition. This is the race of San Bernardino.
Yes.
This is the race.
Although the 6th Ward is another interesting race.
It is an interesting race,
yeah.
but I have a feeling that that's a little more up in the air. It doesn't really matter what they did. It's just going to be last name luck. I really believe with that one. But this one, the 5th Ward, oh my gosh, there's 2, I think, lead candidates in the lead, and the rest could steal votes from those 2. So what do you guys think about? So we have Chaz Kelly for the 5th Ward, former councilman.
Can he even legally run? I mean, obviously he's running and he's considered a candidate, but
he resigned due to problems with his financial disclosure and financial statements.
He and or his wife stole money from his campaign account.
Yeah, so like you're stealing money from, you can't do that. You can't
Steal money from your own
funds.
but
contributors.
he also went to jail because of the airport authority and that whole investigation and all of that.
Yeah, no, I don't think he went.
Yes, he did.
Oh, he did?
Oh, he did.
No. Well, anyways, I don't know why he was in there, but we didn't get him on the.
And I think we need to
show.
correct one thing from a legal point of view. His campaign is passing around that a judge reconsidered that conviction and took it back.
Oh, okay.
No judge reconsidered anything. It's state law that you can apply to have an expungement and to get a felony dropped to a misdemeanor and then expunged. And he took advantage of that liberal law.
Is that what Neil Derry did?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
So it's not
the
that any
process.
judge thought that anything was improper about his conviction of a felony.
Love the framing, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Well, if you're not doing your research, if
Yeah,
right?
If you don't know, you don't know.
If you
and
don't know,
they'll
you don't know.
bamboozle you and hoodwink
Okay,
you.
we did have Rose Ward on. Very nice lady.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, I think she would be a great councilwoman. She really has the love for it. Needs a little more refinement and more time on the campaign trail.
But like you pointed out,
yeah.
you met many of candidates that didn't have the experience
Yep.
and they learned on the job. As most people, when you get hired for any job, you on the job training is how you.
OJT.
And Mr. Penman and former Mayor Valles said the exact same thing at a historical society meeting. They're like, I was afraid people would know. I didn't know what I was doing.
I hear you.
We're getting close here. All right. The 3rd Ward. We got Kim Canas in the 5th Ward, Ben Reynoso, and Henry Nickel. Right. So take a look at those teams. Henry Nickel is a former councilman.
Yes.
Kim Canas has been involved in a lot of things in our city, including cleaning up trash. With the We Are the Change and working for Supervisor Baca, very involved. Ben Reynoso, good guy, has protected San Bernardino's air very much so. He cares about our city and our people. He's a good guy too. 3 candidates for the San
And he's
Bernardino.
the incumbent as well.
Yeah, he is incumbent. And then we kind of did get into the 6th Ward with Bessine, Little Phil Richard, and Kimberly Calvin.
A
And,
graduate of San Bruno High School, by the way.
yeah,
Cardinal Pride.
and Mario Flores. So enjoy, write, vote, do whatever you got to do.
Yes,
Thank you
indeed.
two for showing up. Yanni, you the man.
And you the man.
You the man. Eric, you rock.
You the man.
Thank you, Eric.
Riverside in the house.
All right, don't forget time changes coming up, team, this
Definitely.
weekend. So vote this weekend.
It's
Vote.
almost 8 o'clock, and the polls are open until 8 o'clock tomorrow.
Go do
Front
it.
row
Hey.
window.
And this
Shout
is
out
Yanni Lockhart and Robert Porter, and we are
Riverside, all of us or none. Out of
out
here.
of here.